Okay, is everyone ready? Ready with the cable? Okay, thank you. Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Virginia City Council Chambers. This is a regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. Today's date is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. The time is 9 a.m. We have a full agenda today, so hopefully we can get through it as quickly as possible. We might have to move the agenda around a little bit to accommodate a council who has employment duties, and so we'll do that, and we hope, I ask for your patience as we do so. We'll turn this Committee of the Whole meeting agenda over to our City Administrator, Britt C. Bennis. Britt.
Thank you. Item number 1 is Tom Kelly from Walker, Drew, and Honey to discuss the 2024 audit.
Thank you. I'll turn the light on to green. And welcome, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Britt.
This has been a long.
I heard you say to try to go quickly, so I'll do my best.
No, this is important, so let's just get through this thing. And I said, our job is to get through the agenda as efficiently as we can.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Okay, thank you.
I had the one in the back pocket about, who doesn't want to kick off a short week after a holiday with an audit presentation? What better way to get the juice flowing? So,
Thank you.
okay. So again, my name's Tom Kelly. This is my first year really being intimately involved in the audit. I came here last year to the presentation, but our firm's been doing it for a long time. So I'm gonna just hit on what I think are the important parts. That doesn't mean that we can't talk about anything else that anybody has to a question on or want to focus on. But I've got the little kind of summary of what we'll go through, and that's what I plan on sticking with to start at least. So that being said, we'll start with the audit results. So the whole point of the audit is for us to give an opinion on your financial statements, right? The city's financial statements. So to sum it up, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. You have an unmodified or a clean opinion. That's what you're looking for. That means that the financial statements are fairly stated and useful to the reader. So all the appropriate adjustments were made and the books are in good shape. It's not a reflection of the financial health of the city or the entity, but it's what our opinion is as far as the accuracy. So that's what you're looking for. That's the highest level of assurance that you can get. That's what you want. An additional item this year that I know that you're aware of was that you had a single audit, it's called. It's additional controls and compliance testing. When you spend more than $750,000 of federal money, that's what triggers that. So I believe it had been about 5 years or so since you had been a single audit before. So I'm not sure if you're going to be coming up, but I know this had to do with the street project down by Target. Some of the funding was federal for that. So anyways, additional controls and compliance testing with that. We do a lot of them, a lot of single audits, I should say. There's no compliance issues or control issues with that, so you came out clean with that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on too here. So those are kind of the summarized audit results. Okay. Now we'll get into the numbers, and if you've got the handout, pages 3 and 4, I would look at them kind of together, and I'm going to try to focus, but I still kind of, when I start going, I kind of hop around a little bit to related areas that might not be right next to the next one. So bear with me, and if you have any questions, please hop in and ask. I do like kind of the informal way of doing this, so if anybody has any, I think conversation's how we get the best out of this, so just keep that in mind too. Feel free to interrupt, please. Okay, so we've got on your page 3, your handout, a summary from page 17 of the audit report. Some of the finer points of your major funds, your governmental funds that have the most activity and most things going on. Those would be your general fund, ambulance special revenue fund, the ITMEC Special Revenue Fund, Public Safety Center Capital Projects, and 2023 Street and Infrastructure Capital Projects Fund, which again, the main focus of that is the street project down by Target there. Okay. General fund. So general fund had zero cash presented at year end, but that's because of a due from other funds in the financial statements for presentation. So the general fund really had about 3 million and change in cash at the end of the year, but no, in an audit report, for the state auditor's purposes, you can't present negative cash. So other funds such as your ambulance fund and ITMEC had negative cash. Basically, it's a one evening borrowing from the general fund to these other funds to bring their cash up to zero. So general fund, while you open the audit report and you see zero cash, you should also look at the due from other funds line that has just over 3 million in due from other funds. That was what the actual cash in the general fund was at year end. Important to note that. Fund balance decreased 695,000, but that was compared to a 1.4 million decrease in 23. So that got about cut in half what the general fund lost. And I should say that operations were positive in the general fund, but fund transfers out to help support some of these other funds. The stress falls on the general fund when that has to happen typically. So that's why overall you're seeing a loss in the general fund. Operations produce revenues in excess of expenditures of over 600,000 actually. So that's something that should be noted. Okay, ambulance special revenue fund. This is obviously, ambulance has been a regional, statewide hot topic for, oh gosh, a year plus now, at least, if not more. So it's really just heated up though in the last 12 months, I'd say. You do have negative cash in the ambulance special revenue fund. That's one of the funds that the general fund is, air quote, helping out on paper at the end of the year. That amount was just north of 2 million. Again, that shows up as a due to other funds because cash has to be shown as negative, or cash has to be shown as zero, cannot be shown as negative, excuse me. There was a decrease in fund balance of 345,000 in 2024 versus a decrease in fund balance of 648,000 in 2023. So that, similarly, that annual operations amount loss was cut in half, I would say, compared to from 24 to 23, vice versa. It is a Tuesday morning after a long weekend, so I apologize for my misspeaking.
Can I just point out?
Of course, Britt, yeah.
The dollar amount, that 2.192575 is a cumulative amount.
Correct.
It's not just last year.
It's not 1 year worth. So not to get too technical, because I know everybody's probably caffeinated as much as possible, but balance sheet, when we're talking cash, when we're talking due tos and due from other funds, anything on the balance sheet, that's cumulative. That's been since the city began, whatever year it was founded. I should know that, I know. But yeah, so it's not a 1 year snapshot when we're talking about this negative cash and due to, due from other funds. It's important to know that. Thanks, Britt. Okay, ITMEC, Special Revenue Fund. So similar to the ambulance, ITMEC had negative cash resulting in due to other funds of 3.7 million for financial statement presentation. There was a decrease in fund balance of 681,000 in 2024 versus 963,000 in 23. So that improved by about a third, 33% from what the loss was the prior year. But still, negative cash, again, accumulated from the beginning of the fund several years ago.
Moving in the right direction at a snail's pace.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not in good shape financially, but they're, you know, and I remember from the presentation last year, it had gotten better from 22 to 23. The operations here did get better. Still relying on a heavy fund transfer in from the general fund to help operate too. But correct, that's, yes, it is getting better.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Virginia Public Safety Center Capital Projects Fund. So now capital projects funds are set up for specific projects typically. They're not like the first three funds we talked about that, you know, are have long lives as far as funds in the financial statements. Cash balance in Virginia Public Safety Center Fund was just north of 15 million, primarily as a result of bond proceeds received in 2023 to fund project costs. And overall, you saw a decrease in fund balance of 6.8 million, which is very standard when you have a capital projects fund. The whole reason for the fund is to keep the accounting separate from everything else. So you're going to see a huge influx like you did in 23 as far as the cash infusion and if you want to call it profitable, that's what it would be. Then you spend that money out for the project as it goes on until it goes down to zero. So that's the Public Safety Center Fund. Then the 2023 Street and Infrastructure Capital Projects Fund, 10th Avenue West, 13th Street South. Like I said earlier, I just say by target. Cash balance of $24,000, zero fund balance at the end of the year. That's pretty typical for Capital Projects Fund as well. Those are small dollars compared to these other ones we're talking about. But when we talk about the revenues and expenditures on the next couple pages, that's where you'll see the activity, I guess, per se, show up. So, and then other governmental funds, so your non-major funds, basically everything else that's not enterprise, right? Cash balance of 9.2 million, that increased from about 2 million from the prior year. Your net due from other funds versus due to other funds was 2.55 million. So these funds are in the same boat as the general fund, where they're air quote borrowing for Happy New Year's evening for a short amount of time to bring that cash up to zero in those funds with negative cash. That's also happening with the non-major governmental funds. So, fund balance is overall just south of 13 million at the end of the year. Do we have any questions on the balance sheet for the governmental funds? Okay, I'll keep going then.
Thank you.
Of course. Keep my pages in order here. Okay, we'll look at the next two pages together as well, pages 5 and 6 of the packet, which say the one with the numbers, values on it is page 19 of the audit report summarized. Okay, so we talked about the balance sheet a little bit. Now it's like, how did we get there? How did we get there with those numbers? This is the annual snapshot. In other words, your revenues and expenditures and that other related items. So we'll start with the general fund, property taxes and intergovernmental revenues, which would be your LGA, taconite aids, any intergovernmental grants from the county, state, otherwise. That's where those show up. Those are your heavy hitters as far as revenues in the general fund, very standard. For most cities, you saw a nice increase in intergovernmental revenues, I wanted to note, due to an LGA increase. You're in budget talks right now, 'tis the season, and you know that LGA increase that you got is not gonna be happening again. So as I've been doing these meetings, I've just been mentioning that, even though I know everybody's well aware of that, but I just feel like something that we should say, that's gonna be pretty flat for the next, at least a couple of years, it looks like. So something to keep in mind there. But overall revenues did go up in the general fund.
Tom?
Yes.
Just to clarify this, local government aid, it stays at that level. It's not scheduled to decrease. It's just, there's no escalator clause until the legislature reconvenes and considers.
Absolutely, exactly right.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep, and every municipality that gets LGA is in the same boat as far as that goes. Yep. Okay, expenditures. All departments had current expenditures comparable to 2023 in 2024 for general fund. You did have a decrease in expenditures in total because you had less capital outlay in the general fund than you did in 2023. So those expenditures decreased. Ambulance special revenue fund, increases to revenue, intergovernmental, included the one-time shot in the arm that you got from the state, emergency ambulance service aid, and then charges for services increased as well, just north of 300,000. Expenditures also increased about 4%, which of course we're seeing expenses are going up everywhere. Very standard to see that. ITMEC Special Revenue Fund, revenue increased about 24 grand or 3%, Expenditures decreased about 289,000 or 10%. That was the biggest help per se as far as cutting into that loss that you had. And that loss cut down mostly because of expenditures becoming smaller. And then you did have the transfer in from the general fund of 985,000 to aid with operations, which I had mentioned previously. So those are kind of the highlights for the IPMEC fund as far as financials. Now we get to the capital projects funds, the public safety center. You had 3.4 million in intergovernmental revenues recognized to partially fund the project. And then along with the bond proceeds that you'd already received to help spend that down, because then we go to the expenditures and you had 10.6 million in capital outlay to pay for the project there. So mix of bond, mix of grants to help pay for that project. Then we get to the 2023 Street and Infrastructure Capital Projects Fund. Again, 10th Avenue West, 13th Street South. 2.4 million in intergovernmental revenues recognized to partially fund the project, and 6.5 million in capital outlay paying for the project in 2024. In that fund was where your federal grant is that spurred the single audit. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. But any questions on the revenues and expenditures in governmental funds? Okay, keep going.
Yes, please.
Okay, budget analysis. This is be pages 70, 72 of the audit report, page 7 of the handout. General fund revenues came in about 7% less than budgeted. Expenditures also were less than budgeted by about 600,000, excuse me. And then other financing sources and uses mostly for transfers out, were also over budget. Primarily with, again, the big one with the IPMEC transfer there. Ambulance Special Revenue Fund, those were negative variances, but pretty close, 3 to 5% difference as far as what you brought in versus expected and what you spent versus what you expected to spend. So those were pretty close. And then the IPMEC Special Revenue Fund, again, there was miscellaneous revenue budgeted that was expected to be coming from a fund transfer from the general fund. So the variances here look a little wonky because of that. Revenues were budgeted at 2.1 million, actual was 800,000. But again, that $1 million transfer should have been budgeted technically as a transfer. It was budgeted as miscellaneous revenue. So it all kind of washes itself out as far as that goes when you're looking at budget to actual. But just kind of the category of it was not where it should have been. Again, I think that's getting straightened out then for 26. We've had conversations about that, so. Yeah, that's all I have to say on the budgets. Any questions, comments there? Okay, then we'll go to enterprise funds, the next page, page 8 of the packet, pages 21 and 24 of the audit report, 21 through 24, excuse me. Enterprise funds, they go by several names: business type, enterprise funds, proprietary funds. They're supposed to be self-sufficient, run like a business, stand up on their own 2 feet, basically. So your funds include public utilities, sewer, solid waste disposal, golf course, Washington Manor, and clinic facility capital lease. We'll also look at this page 8 and 9 of the handout kind of together. Not as much to hit on here. Again, same thing where we've got cash and cash balances, net position or equity, revenues and expenses on one page, and then a little summary with some verbiage on the next page. Okay, we'll start with public utilities. So cash did go down, but still very strong in cash over at the public utilities. That was just north of 16 million at the end of 23 versus just north of 15 million at the end of 24. They did have an operating loss of 932,000, but with non-operating activity, they nearly broke even with about $100,000 loss overall, which when you're talking about the millions of dollars going through, that's pretty dang close to break even. So, then the sewer fund had a good year as far as, financially. Cash decrease, as you see, by about 300,000, but that's primarily due to heavy long-term debt payments and purchases and construction of capital assets. Because overall operating income, you made 394,000 just in the operating area of the sewer fund. So that's what you're looking for in enterprise fund. Same thing basically with solid waste disposal. Cash did go up though, so did equity. And you had operating income of 447,000 in the solid waste disposal fund. So good year for that fund as well. And then smaller dollars, but still noteworthy, I feel like, the golf course. It did have an operating loss of 34 grand in 2024, but that's versus $99,000 loss, yeah, I said that right, in 2023. And golf courses up here especially are very hard to come close to breaking even on. So I think that's, to me, that's a positive year financially for the golf course. Yeah, that's what I have on the enterprise funds. Does anybody, questions, comments, otherwise? Okay, I'll keep going.
One moment, please, Tom, if you would.
Yeah, of
please.
course.
Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question regarding the public utilities and how that overall impacts the budget when don't they have to do their own separate audit?
They do, and we do that audit. So they essentially operate as a separate entity, correct me if I'm wrong as far as that goes, but they're still under your umbrella, so they're a fund of the cities, and that's why they're presented in here, and that's why certain items that come up in their audit may play a role on what's in here, which I'll actually get to in a little bit here, one example of that.
Okay, so you'll give us an example.
Yeah, there's a finding in their audit that's in your audit, that's only because it was in their audit that they're still a fund of the cities, so as much as they're a separate entity per se, they still, and I know I'm not using the technical terms, Mr. Lindsay could help with that. What's that?
They're autonomous entities.
There you go, yeah. But they still belong in the city's financial statements, so all that work is done separately as far as audit and then working with Cassie and Greg over there, but all those numbers that get pulled together when we work on that audit get put in here.
Got into our audit.
Yep.
Overall, because that's the umbrella, although they were pretty healthy. But when you look at depreciation and that sort of thing, I'm just wondering how that impacts us and if you're going to address that later.
No, I wasn't specifically going to address that. So that's where, they do their own budgeting, they do their own operating. As far as like this time of year for you talking about that, I don't think that plays a major role in the decisions that you're making here. Because again, they are autonomous. Thank you, Mayor Cuffey. But it's just something basically to keep on for a council, what I would recommend in your situation with this, just keep it on your radar. Just be like, okay, they're in good shape. Okay, now let's worry about everything else we're looking at. And yeah, of course. Yeah. Good question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, please continue. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that's for the enterprise funds. Now we'll go to page 10 of the handout. This is on page 115 of the audit report. This is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. I always like to say audit slang that we used is CFA. Yeah, not even a groan. Okay. So the schedule of federal expenditures of federal awards, that is only in here because you're a single audit. The only reason it's in here is because it's got to be presented with the federal dollars spending over $750,000. We have to go through, Brent and I are going to do a single audit submission when this is done here in the next probably week or two. The extra controls and compliance test, this schedule has to be presented in the audit. Again, we do many single audits. So this is standard that this gets put together and put in here. And I think it's a nice schedule because if you want to look at what sort of federal dollars that the city is taking advantage of, programs that are available, here's a one-page snapshot right here of what you did in 2024. So you did spend 1.8 million in federal dollars. Again, these are all grants that you had. Sometimes there's federal loans with PFA and whatnot that get mixed in, but you didn't have any of those. So the big one that we tested controls and compliance on was the highway planning and construction. You got a federal grant for that street project. And that was what triggered the single audit again, and that's because of risk and the higher dollars, that's what we tested for it. So everything came out clean with that, no compliance or controls issues with the single audit. So I think that's all I have there. Then we get to the findings and management points. So you had 3 findings this year, 2 standard ones, and then the one related to the Department of Public Utilities, which we'll talk about too. The 2 standard ones that you've had, which I think basically all of our cities have, are segregation of duties and lack of control over financial reporting. Segregation of duties, it's not saying that you don't do a good job with what you have. It's just saying that you have a small office. So we're doing our due diligence to bring to you that, hey, from an audit standpoint, gosh, we wish that you could separate duties more, but we also understand for fiscal constraints, otherwise, that's not usually feasible. So we're doing our job to put it in here, bring it to your attention, everyone to keep an eye on that. Along the same lines, the financial reporting finding, if you read this one, I try not to read directly from these because these are trying to keep everyone, everybody loves audit presentations, let's just put it that way. Basically, you contract with us to put the audit report together, which I think all of our 11 cities that we do and every township that we do and every special district that we do that's a local government does this. It's not worth your staff's time to get all these GASBs in order and know how to put the 130 pages report together and whatnot. They play a huge role in it, but as far as going through and actually putting the final report together, that's what you guys hire us to do. I always use the example, if we were Deloitte or Ernst & Young, one of the major firms worldwide, and you were 3M or Target Corp in Minneapolis, we'd come in and everything would be adjusted. The report, besides the first 3 pages and the last 10 pages, would be done, handed to us essentially, and we would audit the books from there. Well, that's just not realistic on how it works. So anyways, probably spent too much time discussing that one. The last one, contracting bid laws. Basically some paperwork fell between the cracks at Public Utilities with a couple of their bids. To me, not a major issue. I think they do a really good job over there. I really do. And I don't see this as a problem going forward. Just a one-off thing that happened. And so that's why it's in your audit report too, because like we discussed earlier, they still fall under your umbrella. So that's what I have for findings. Then we have management points, 6 management points this year. I'm just going to summarize, don't worry, I'm not going to read word for word these. The first one has to do with the financial health of the funds, particularly the governmental funds. We already talked about it basically, about negative cash, due tos and due froms, and then some funds with negative equity. The one thing that we did put in here was that there's a deficit of unassigned fund balance in the general fund. You have a fund balance policy that's not currently being followed per se because that unassigned amount is too low. We recommend you looking into getting that in line. Second one, public utilities and golf course reported operating losses. That's kind of standard for us that if there is an operating loss in an enterprise fund, we put a management point in it. We're not saying like action needs to be taken per se or anything, but just keep an eye on it because you don't want that to become a consistent thing and then you fall into trouble financially in enterprise funds. Number 3, capital assets work papers. This was something that was quite a work in progress, I guess I would say. But that's not to say that there wasn't diligent work done on the city side and our side to get this where it needed to be. I think it's just a transition period, particularly with office staff and whatnot. You've had a lot of changes in your financial office the last few years. So getting everything where we needed it to be so we could put it all together was kind of what this point was about. We found some mistakes and we got them fixed and we got them changed, and it just took a little bit of time. So that's what that finding's in there for. I see that getting better as we go forward too. Okay, number 4, many accounts that have been historically adjusted were not adjusted to reflect activity during the year. This kind of can lump into that prior one, where again, there's been a lot of change in the fiscal office. So I think that as you get fully staffed, and obviously you're in between finance directors right now and whatnot, I think some of this could be very easily cleaned up through conversation between us and the city and who's doing what and that sort of thing. Okay, number 5. This one I kind of get made fun of in our office because I'm a stickler on this. Voided check copies. So when we see voided check copies, that's part of our audit. We look through the voided check copies, make sure they're properly defaced. I always like to see that signature line ripped out or cut out, because you can write void and whatever on it, but still, if it's intact, if it gets in the hands of a bad actor, who knows what's going to happen. And I understand that the odds of that happening, falling on the floor, the wrong person coming by, picking it up, going to the bank, et cetera, not very good, right? But if you take that signature page out, there's basically no way the bank is going to cash a check then. So something just to change how you're doing that, recommend that you do. And then another bookkeeping accounting item, a closed fund had transactions posted to it. When there's a closed fund that's not being used anymore, we always recommend that you go through the formal process of actually closing it so that you cannot post to it. This was a repeat, but it was a lot better this year than it was in '23. So I think it's going the right direction, but it's just something, again, a small thing to look at doing to kind of make things easier for both your staff and the audit process. And again, something to keep in mind, it is an audit. We are going to find things to recommend and improve. That's what you have us here for. So any questions or comments on those or anything else audit related?
Well, there's a few minor things that I would like to address, but not at this point in time. I'll go through our city administrator to get the clarification from it. I think I'll get it from there. So I don't have any questions. Does any other counselor have questions with respect to the audit that has been presented today? Thank you, Tom.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Okay.
Mayor, I have one,
Okay,
sorry.
Counselor Bachschneider.
Thank you. So in my reading of the audit, I would say the biggest takeaway that we should have as a council, and this is my opinion only, is the lessening of our cash and reserves. Is that fair that we should be looking at that?
If I had to make a general recommendation on that, it would be working on the healthier governmental funds. So in somewhat sense, yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Somewhat, yeah.
Thank you, Counselor Bachschneider. Thank you, Tom.
Okay,
Appreciate it very
thanks
much.
everybody.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Britt.
Thank you. Item number 2 is Mr. Mike Jarrett from Jarrett and Associates regarding the resolution to enter into a contract with Jarrett and Associates as a city lobbyist.
Okay, come forward, Mr. Jarrett, and the firm of Mike Jarrett and Associates has been our lobbyist for a while now. It is budgeted for 2026 at this point. Mr. Jarrett, good morning.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's great to be here. Came up yesterday, and my wife and I spent the afternoon and evening walking around, and the city, the parks look beautiful. We went down to the fire station, the new public safety building that's coming right along, and it's kind of one of those things that I'm kind of proud of because of my active role in, the hockey arena and the fire station, and just the beautification of the whole city. So I hope to continue that going forward. I know, last session the bonding thing kind of got a little wonky with not wanting to fund local projects other than sewer and water, and a lot of those have been on the books for, I would say, I mean, longer than I've been there because of the lead pipe issue we have in the state and things like that. So, hopefully going forward, and it is an election year, that people are gonna wanna do more for whatever projects, like you guys have coming forward. And I know, with the steam conversion and stuff like that, but that might be too late for this building, but, maybe not for windows and, whatever, this tearing down the plant and, redoing the city for whatever on the lake. So, I don't know if you guys have any questions for me. It's, kind of been a tragic summer, the start of it with the murder of Speaker Emeritus Hortman and her husband, and shooting of Senator Hoffman, and the passing of Senator Bruce Anderson. So we have some elections coming up in the very, very near future, and I don't think it'll change the scope of the makeup of the legislature, but you just never know. You don't know how people show up in a special election. It's just, and we're so close, as you guys know. We're tied in the House, and we got a one-seat majority for the DFL in the Senate. So time will tell how this shifts. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll go around to the different councilors, but I just want to I'll make the point after after everybody gets done speaking. But we had some conversation. We have over the course of the year what some of the bonding priorities are, get a thumb on the pulse of what did get funded last year, what did not get funded last year, the appetite for a bonding bill again this year, which is probably necessary for infrastructure, particularly with respect to attaching things to housing. I know you had talked about that moving forward and how it's important with the public utilities billing the way it is. In the next couple of years, there's a potential for that being reallocated and potentially for demolition and repurposed for particularly housing, those kind of things. I know there's an appetite at the legislature for that. You articulated that to me personally. But as we move forward to that, as it gets closer to the legislative session, I'm hoping to hear more about how that's moving forward. So thank you for that, Councilor Paulson.
One more thing before. Also, we worked hard on that rural ambulance reimbursement, and with the governor coming in at 16 million, I met with Speaker Emeritus Hortman, and I said, this number, I mean, we're way off. And she said, in the end, she said, well, you're kind of fighting sort of City Hall, with the governor. And she said, but I'm going to try to get you a couple more million. I said, well, we need like 40 more million. So the fact that it was 8 more million, I'm kind of happy about. It's not enough, but it helps. And moving forward, it still has to be addressed. We can't just keep putting a Band-Aid on that issue.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Mr. Jarek. Councilor Paulson, then over to Councilor Johnson.
Thanks, Mike, for being here. Appreciate it. I'm concerned, and I don't know, if it's a bonding session coming forward, but I'm concerned about our expense to all of our steam conversions throughout all of our city buildings. We will have to be off of steam October of 2026.
Excuse me, could you speak a little bit more clearly? And I appreciate that.
Usually I'm
So we can take the
I talk
notes.
really loud.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay, so we have our steam, my concern is the steam conversions for all city buildings in the city of Virginia. And what was our estimated cost on? 7?
Remember the total, it was over 2 million, I believe, for everything, for all of
I
them.
thought it was more than that.
It was up there, it was way up there.
Yeah, and so do you think there's any possibility that there would be an appetite for, this is a big deal in terms of a city shutting its steam down completely. And we've had the residential conversions, but now we're doing all of the rest of the conversions. The steam plant will be shut off in 2026. And it's just a huge burden to have to either levy for that or bond for that, or it's a big burden. So is there any, in your mind, appetite for something of this nature that is truly a unique situation. I don't know how many other communities in this state have ever completely shut off their steam production if that's their main source of power and electricity and heat.
It would have to be something we'd have to really look at, could we do something like fund some of that plus tear down the building and I don't know if there's any hazardous material over there, mitigation, which would be a big deal because it's next to water. So.
I don't know if we could tie
Could we
water
tie it
into any of that.
together?
I just, going forward, I feel like did we put that as our main priority, didn't we? I think we did. So going forward, I just feel like we need to have somebody's ear. Like, we need to have somebody come in, our representatives come in and maybe hear from us. And I think Counselor Bachschneider went and testified regarding that, but it's 2 minutes of testifying, and, maybe a tour would be in order to have a group come up and just tour and see, hey, this is all the buildings we have, and the burden to steam convert is a pretty decent burden.
Yeah, I haven't heard about any bonding tours coming up, but, I'll contact the chairs and see, and hopefully, it is something, it's 2 minutes isn't near enough, but that's all you get, because there's so many projects and people, and it's just a short amount of time, so, but Councilor Bachschneider did a great job, but unless they come up here and ask the questions, and they don't really know, so, yeah.
And I
Other than
think-
listening to me and, whoever comes down to testify, but physically coming up here and seeing it and hearing the story from all you guys, or you guys coming down and telling the story too, it works.
And working with our local legislators, Senator Farnsworth, Representative Warris, and Senator Hochschild, all this, 'cause I know you have an integral communication with them, that they're going to have to be the driving force to help us move this forward. And with the help, previously with your help with some of the other legislators down the metro area, have been able to bring the two together to help us accomplish some of the goals and objectives we've had over the past. So that's been helpful. I'll go to Councilor Johnson, then over to Councilor Bachschneider. Councilor Johnson.
Thanks, Mr. Jarrett, for coming up here. I know I'm not been your greatest fan over the 9 years I've been sitting here, but I really do appreciate the work that you've done, especially when it comes to the Public Safety Center and the other lobbying. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I just want to let you know, I appreciate you coming up and spending some time up here as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson.
I'll just say we probably will be spending a lot more time up here because my wife and I are thinking about, we own a lot by Waback, so we're thinking about moving here permanently and then during the legislative session renting down there. My wife's from rural North Dakota, so hasn't been a fan of the Twin Cities for 30 years. She loves it up here.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson, Mr. Jarrett. Councilor Bachschneider, and then we'll go over to Councilor Mah. I couldn't see your light from here, so thank you. Councilor Bachschneider.
Thank you. It looked like last week, Britt, we received an email that there is a tour scheduled. I don't know if you just want to touch on that briefly.
Yep, I did get a call last week from the House, Senate, I believe it's the House Investment Committee. They're coming up October 9th at 8:30. They're coming from Ely to here. We're the first stop, and they'll be hearing us in Mesabi Trail.
Oh, very nice.
Send you the calendar, invite Mike in case you want to
Awesome.
come sit with us too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Councilor Motley.
I thank you for coming. Also, I do support you. Just for maybe the public's edification, can you just let us know some of the projects you've been helping us with over the years, funding-wise, with the City of Virginia, and also what makes you more special than, say, choosing a local lobbyist? Thank you.
Oh, well, we started with the Iron Trails Motor Event Center, a public safety building. There's always fights on the LGA. Like the big cities and the Twin Cities, they hate it because they think that it's our money and we should keep it and not share the wealth type thing. There was some pressure to lower as we run into sort of maybe a deficit to lower LGA. Some of them wanted to cut it out totally, and so the LGA, the ambulance, rural ambulance fund, that story. A lot of people say, well, why don't the big guys do it, the companies? And it's like, well, the rural area, they don't want to do it because it's too spread out. Houses are too far apart. And when you're dealing with smaller communities that are rural, there's a lot more people on Medicare. And reimbursement has come down. Hopefully it'll start going back up. Administration and the federal government. And then dealing with the DNR, with the hotel, that potential hotel, because of the park issue and the land, and so we got that all squared away. There's kind of, maybe Britt can help me, because there's things that pop up here and there.
Well, I think the $2.5 million that we were requesting for the city hall upgrades, which was supposed to go in the bonding bill, there was no appetite at the legislature for that moving forward. It did come to fruition because there was no bonding bill. However, I had the opportunity to come down and kind of gave me some direction. It took me to some of these places to visit some of these legislators and lobbied hard to try to make sure that that was on the radar, and got into the bonding bill request and got into carry over into the whatever committee that was, I can't remember, for if in the event there was a bonding bill, our project was in there. And so I think that he was helpful in getting those other legislators to acquiesce as well. So that's one issue.
Then the extra cash for the public safety building in 2024, is it $2 million, I think? That was another thing too. So, and hopefully they're starting to uncover a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse at the state level. We're already over $1 billion. Hopefully we can kind of figure some of that out, get some of the money back. There's another thing I just heard about from a legislator, texted me yesterday, said there's another scandal that's going to come out that could blow away the Feed Our Future, which was $500 million. It's on, the text said food stamps. So however they're getting that, I don't know if it's federal, state, pass through, whatever. So hopefully going forward, there'll be more money for not funding scams. I'll call them scams.
And so if you had, your second question was respect to the why a local lobbyist or why the Jericho Association as opposed to a local lobbyist. I think when we had the discussion before, and the reason we selected one, Jericho Associates, your father, the previous, who's deceased now and was a great man, they're from Ely, Minnesota, okay? But the primary reason we chose Jericho was because it was an independent, sole lobbyist. I know that Jericho Associates lobbies for a number of different businesses, organizations, corporate people, but this is the only municipality that Jericho Associates represents. There's no conflict. There's no. There's other local lobbies lobby with other cities, and so there's a competition for different money, and you're kind of saving. You're trying to represent two masters. In this particular case, we're the only city or municipality that Jericho Associates represents. So, is that correct? That's correct.
That's correct. Yes.
Thank you.
And I did know that, which I think makes you extra special versus special interest for multiple different entities around us. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Councilor Motley. Any other questions, concerns, or comments? First, I will go to Councilor Freely.
Mike, thanks for coming up. Just want to thank you again for the legislative networking that you do on behalf of us and the advocacy you provide for the city of Virginia. Do a good job. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Bachschneider?
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I would move the approval of this as presented.
Support.
Councilor Bachschneider recommends the approval of the resolution to enter in a contract with Jericho and Associates as our city lobbyist to continue, supported by Counselor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Jarek.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Item number 3 is Mr. Matt Reed, our city engineer of record from SEH.
Okay, thank you. As Matt comes up, there was been a request by Counselor Motley. She has an employment obligation outside the city limits. She needs some travel time to get to Superior, Wisconsin. She has some questions or comments or concerns with respect to the Personnel Committee meeting, so she has to leave by 10:30, so I believe we can get through the Matt Reed things prior to that, and right after that, if it was amenable to the council, move the personnel agenda up to that particular area. That'd be amenable? Very good, thank you. Matt?
Good morning. You could have snuck in ahead of me if you needed to, but
Do you want to do that?
sure, if you got to go, go ahead, if you want to do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Matt. Thank you, Mr. Reed. I appreciate that very much. Okay, if we could just move item 8 up.
Item number 8, the first item was appoint Emily Hickson to the Human Rights Commission for a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2028.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Moved by Counselor Bachsteiner, supported by Counselor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item was appoint Angeline Brisky to the Human Rights Commission for the remainder of a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2027.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Motley, supported by
Support.
Counselor Bachsteiner. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next items, we had discussion regarding the permission to advertise for recreation assistance for this season.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Counselor Paulson, supported by Counselor Friedlieb. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Bachsteiner.
Thank you. How many positions will we be advertising for and hiring for?
That's a great question. We have 3 FTEs, 3 full-time equivalents right now, and we're approved for up to, I believe, 10 full-time equivalents. So we don't usually often get very many applications for this position, so maybe 3, 4 of them would be wonderful.
Are all of these positions part-time, so nobody is benefit eligible within that?
They are all part-time.
Thank you.
Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So we budgeted, or we had approved at one point up to 10 FTEs. And now that we do not have the concession, we have a concessionaire running the concession stands, this would be based on events that would be happening in the facility.
Correct. And
Or
hours
the
of
need.
availability of the staff that we hire is
Okay.
the key.
Do we need to amend or change or adjust the 10, up to 10 FTEs we had originally approved?
We could, but it really doesn't make a difference because they're only paid the hours they work. There's not any benefits or any guarantee of anything.
So by advertising, then it'll come back and say, okay, this is how many we'd like to hire, but we might not need up to 10 FTEs. So
Right.
that's my question, does that number need to be adjusted?
I don't think so. I think it comes back to when we hire, we decide how many we're going to actually, just like
Okay.
summer students, we go for a target of 6. We ended up hiring 8 this year and only 6 stuck around.
So
But
I'd just like to be mindful of that.
yeah, definitely,
Okay,
100%.
thank you.
We are too. Same way.
Okay, thank you. Moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
A discussion at the personnel meeting regarding the maintenance and custodial at the public safety facility and how the city will handle that going forward. Not have a motion at the meeting, just further discussion to be had.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Counselor Motley.
so what was discussed?
The discussion from the minutes say that the Existing staff is learning the HVAC and electrical systems. There will be a need for mowing, snow removal, and building maintenance. Mayor Cuffey noted the police and fire should not be responsible for custodial work. And we discussed whether it's an existing employee or if a new employee is hired, this should be a budget consideration. Counselor Friedlieb suggested speaking with current staff to see how it affects their current workload. Amanda Metza from AFSCME noted concerns with the custodial position and how large the building is. Further discussion continued on the maintenance concerns and the custodial issues at the new facility. Counselor Johnson suggested the option of having a separate budget for public safety building rather than each department.
And I think we all understand that the public safety building is larger. I feel like I remember Chief Erickson at one point saying that they've always maintained their area and that they weren't going to need any additional staff to maintain their area. I understand the police is separate area, same building, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we had this conversation. Fire wasn't requesting any more staff. Okay. Thank you.
Counselor Johnson?
I think as we're looking forward, we're not talking about just the staff in the fire department, but we're looking at a huge now, 2 parking lots, an inordinate amount of new sidewalks, and that kind of stuff. So I think to not have the discussion about additional staff is a little premature, simply because they don't know. There's more common space in that building than either fire or police have now. There's a lot more hallways. So I think taking a look at what that looks like overall is a discussion we need to continue to have. Thank you.
Counselor Friedlieb?
If we're thinking in terms of utilizing existing staff, like Kurt and Wes and Jimmy and who else do we have? Nate? I think it would be advisable to have at least a sit-down with those guys to talk about how they can accommodate those responsibilities within the current parameters of the jobs that they have. At least include them in that conversation so that we know the realities of whether or not this can be done with existing staff. Without talking to them, we really don't know what we're trying to accomplish. They'll be able to give us a reality check on what they can and can't do. So I think that is something that needs to be done as expeditiously as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Paulson?
Thank you. Is that something that the Personnel Committee can have a discussion with staff, or I was under the assumption that we cannot?
It would have to be with AFSCME, because they're AFSCME represented staff.
Okay, so do you want that facilitated through Britt or through a personnel committee?
I think through the directors of that they're working for, I guess, they need to determine that. I mean, the director would be the first person. Their immediate supervisor is the one that would have the most concerns about them being out of the building that they're in for doing something over there. So I think those immediate supervisors need to have those conversations and determine whether there's any possibility that they could loosen them up in some kind of rotating fashion to take care of those other responsibilities. I think it's going to be an enormous task, but if we're at least contemplating using existing staff, then we need to talk with them and the people that supervise them and make sure that this is even doable.
Thank you. I wasn't available at the Personnel Committee meeting, so I just was trying to understand what was discussed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any action steps here moving forward? Just direct staff to meet with...
Yeah, I would direct staff to meet with those 4 individuals and come back with a report or some recommendation as to how they could in fact meet the responsibilities that we're looking for at the new building.
Thank you. Is there support for that? Is there support for that? Support by Counselor Johnson. Further discussion? Counselor Motley?
Would you consider amending that to the fire being included because fire didn't think they needed any additional staff?
It would be good to have them involved in the conversation, for sure, but I don't know what other conversations have been had, but I don't think the fire department is of the mind that they can maintain that entire building in the same fashion that they've done at the old one. At least that's my understanding at this point.
Okay.
There's going to be additional help needed.
And I understand this, just Eric was here and said at the council meeting that they didn't need any more additional staff, so I'm just going on by what
Okay.
the chiefs had to say, but thank you.
I think that's the next step moving forward, if that's necessary to do. I think having staff meet with the individuals who are providing that service right now to determine what the workload is. As part of that also is discussion, when you ask for additional workload, if there's additional workload, how does that affect, the contract? How does it affect their ability to do the job? So there's other conversations that would go on after that with the representation, so.
And ultimately, if I might, Mayor,
Yes.
we do need to know what the fire department has always done and what they will continue to do so that we can determine what's left over that needs to be done by potentially these 4 guys or additional hired staff.
So would you be willing to amend your motion to include the fire?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, then if that's a public safety, then everybody that's that's in that public safety building should also be part of that as well. So, but it has been moved and supported with the amendment of including the fire in that discussion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing, Councilor Bachschnider.
Thank you. I thought Counselor Johnson had a really good idea at the Personnel Committee meeting as well, and that would be looking at the overall structure of all of our positions and seeing, and we continue to talk about it at every budget meeting as well, but seeing, do we need to have every single person assigned to one location, or can we look at having like maintenance citywide, snow removal citywide? So I think that would just be a next step as part of the conversation, maybe something we can't resolve right now, but I just thought it was a really good idea, so thank you.
Yeah, I think that was the intent of the motion made by Councilor Freely to do that. So that's, yeah, thank you for that clarification.
Well, I think if that's the case, we would be looking at like even library maintenance, ITMEC maintenance, like all maintenance positions.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries.
At the committee of the whole meeting, we discussed the finance director position. I'm sorry, at the personnel committee meeting, we discussed the finance director position. It was noted that interviews were held and the individual was offered the position but has declined. We discussed the next steps regarding that. And it was discussed at the meeting to wait till after the HR coordinator interviews or on September 5th to make a determination on the finance director. But again, no motion was made.
Okay, my suggestion to the elected body is that we hold this discussion in abeyance till after September 5th. Once the September 5th is completed, and then we'll have a better understanding of where we're at, and then we can take we can take a look at what we're going to do there. That's my opinion. Anyone else? Councilor Johnson?
I would agree with you, Mayor. I think that's the prudent thing to do.
Thank you. Councilor Bachschnider?
Given that this is a committee of the whole, next week would be a council meeting, so we wouldn't have time to discuss at a committee of the whole again. I don't think it would be inappropriate to move the posting of the finance director position again, knowing that it wouldn't happen till after the council meeting anyways, which would be after the interviews. So we would know more on Tuesday next week if we want to actually pass that at the council meeting. And so if that makes sense to everyone, I would move the posting of the finance director position.
Okay, Councilor Bachschnider moves to post a finance director position. Is there support?
Support for discussion.
Support for discussion. Councilor Motley?
I still don't think this moves fast enough to try to bring somebody in that's qualified. I would be fine with even looking to outsource to try to get the budget in line for 2026. So yeah, we might be looking for a finance director, but we still don't solve our current problem, which is trying to set the levy. And so, yeah, I support it, but I don't think it's moving fast enough. So, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, further discussion, we'll get back to you. Go ahead, Counselor Boxall. You made the motion, then we'll go to Counselor Johnson.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a separate discussion. That was something that we had passed at the council meeting to discuss today. I don't believe it's made its way to the agenda though, but we did discuss that prior to the meeting that we would be talking about it. So this is for the posting of the finance director position. It would be a separate conversation to have somebody come in and do this year's budget as a contractor, or whatever language we end up using, right? That's my understanding.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson, then over to Counselor Freely.
Thank you, Mayor. I will not be supporting posting a position we have a qualified candidate for. We interviewed two. The first person turned it down. The second person has not been offered the position. So I don't think that the proper step is to post for a job that both candidates have not been offered. I do appreciate waiting until after the second round of HR interviews as the potential candidate that is in running for both positions. Furthermore, I will not support bringing in an outside person hastily to do a job that the 7 elected officials are supposed to be doing, finding budget cuts. That is not the job of the staff. They make recommendations. It is our job as elected officials to make those decisions and make them on the information provided to us. So I do not believe that hurrying up and hiring someone, that's something that needs to get done one by the end of September, and then we have another several months before the end of the year. When you pass the preliminary budget, our levy, as you always remind us, Mayor, it's the high point, and it can go down from there. Rushing to get that number down in 3 weeks so people can feel good about themselves is not necessary. We need to pass a preliminary budget and then create the cuts or eliminate positions or whatever it is this council needs to do, and not make staff tell us what to do, and then when things don't work out, we can blame the staff. I'm not up for that. I will take responsibility for anything I need to do sitting in the seat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. More discussion, Counselor Motley?
Yeah, it's in just in regards to outsourcing, just to get through the end of the year. We let planning and zoning have somebody who is retired help them out. So I think that's a lot less of a crucial position than what we are currently dealing with today, which is why I would be supporting bringing somebody in as an outsource for getting us through 2025. Thank you.
Well, the motion on the floor is to post for the position of finance director. That's what we're discussing right now. You supported it for discussion. Is there any further discussion on that point? Counselor Freely.
I think it would be premature to post again for the finance position because we've already interviewed for that, and one of the finalists for that is going to be interviewed on Friday for another position. And so unless and until we determine who those candidates are and how they fit, the potential exists for somebody to be already in the hopper for that, as far as I'm concerned. So I'd rather conclude that process and then go from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So what was the discussion on this at the Personnel Committee meeting?
To move it forward to this discussion right here at the committee of the whole.
What has our previous, well, this is we don't really have to follow a precedent, or do we? Like, I'm trying to determine what our past practice has been. If we've had a candidate that has declined the position, what have we done in the past?
For the second or third, sometimes.
Right, so is it on, I mean, is that a process we follow, or is it, should we be doing what Counselor Friedlieb is saying by allowing the other process to happen on the 5th, posting, and then deciding at that point. I guess I'd like to get a little bit more feedback on what we should be doing. Like, if we have a process that we've ever followed. I know with our facilities manager at the Armstrong Motors Event Center, we followed the sequence.
Yep, and we just had a recent AFSCME
That
employee,
also
we
was
followed
a
the same
MAPE.
sequence.
It was a MAPE position. Okay.
Do the same thing with AFSCME. If the first candidate can't make it for some reason, or doesn't make the background, or doesn't choose the job, or whatever, we normally go to the second person.
So I guess, I don't know. That was my question. I don't know if anyone wants to answer that.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion? It has been moved and supported to post for the position of Finance Director. Is there any further discussion? Anyone? Counselor Motley.
Just for the public's edification, the finance director position that we are vying for is a non-union job. It is at the discretion of the city council. So I don't know how past practice with union positions goes, but this is at the discretion of the council, not a contract. Thank you.
Yeah, so the motion is to post for the position of Finance Director. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. No. Roll call, please.
Johnson,
No.
Motley,
Yes.
Paulson,
No.
Beyondich,
No.
Bachschnider,
Aye.
Friedlieb,
No.
Cuffey.
No. Motion passes 5-2. Thank you. I'm saying, excuse me, I apologize. Thank you. Clarification, motion fails. Motion fails 5-2. Thank you. Okay. Okay, next item. Item 9. Oh, no, this is not under personnel. Okay. We're done with personnel. Let's move back. Councilor Bachschnider.
I'm curious if we can discuss the contractor role that didn't make it to the agenda.
I don't think we can. Pardon?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, we can do that under other items of concern, certainly.
I'm wondering if we can do that sooner, since Counselor Motley has to go in about 20 minutes and I have to go in about an hour.
Okay, well, we can do that, to accommodate, absolutely.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, go ahead, Councilor Bachschnider.
So at the discussion at the council meeting, I don't remember what the final motion made was, but it was to move it to the committee of the whole to discuss posting for a contractor to come in and help with our 2026 budget. And so I would continue to want to have that conversation to post, to have somebody come in and help with that. The conversation, Britt and Brian, I'm not sure if you guys can help, but there was conversations around union duties and making sure that it's compliant, things like that, since it's a contractor role. So I don't know if you guys can jump in and be a part of the discussion before I make a motion.
For me.
Mr. Lindsay.
So the issue that I raised, the concern that I had raised at the last meeting was, so the conversation was, as a professional contract, the city would be free to negotiate and bring in a professional to provide assistance with the budget. The issue that gets raised, or the issue of concern that I had, is just to make sure that the duties that that professional would be undertaking wouldn't overlap or wouldn't involve union worker job duties. Just so that we don't start mixing those where we've got an independent contractor coming in performing union work.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Bachschnider.
Thank you. In my review of the 3 job descriptions, I did not see the budget included in any of the 3 roles in the finance office. Granted, I glanced through in maybe 5-10 minutes, so I didn't, microscope it, but I'm not sure. Did you have the opportunity to review those job descriptions as well? Otherwise, I can forward them to you as well.
And I have not reviewed the job descriptions in depth prior to the meeting. And as I kind of indicated, there are ways that a professional contract could be put together so that it's just providing budgeting assistance, but we just have to be careful not to cross that line.
Counselor Bachschnider?
Thank you. I will wait till other discussion is concluded before making a motion.
Is there any more discussion before Counselor Bachschnider moves? Counselor Beyondich?
Thank you. With this process, what is the timeline that it would need to be advertised? Would it need to be out there for everybody to, I'm not sure how this process works. Or do you just choose?
You're talking about advertising for a position? Well, if we post for this position, if this passes and we post for position, Pam, it has to be posted for how long? Doesn't have to be.
It's not a union position.
So we don't have to post it, there's no time frame for that.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. It has been moved and supported to it has not looking for a motion. Okay, looking for additional action. Does anybody have anything else before we go back to Counselor Bachschnider? Counselor Motley?
I just think the budget is a very concerning topic, and if the taxpayers see a levy that is currently in the works right now, I just think we need to get our financing with somebody that's qualified to help us get through the end of the year. If we can't get another reposting for the finance director yet, then we need to bring in somebody to at least get us through the end of the year in a temporary position at the discretion of the city council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It has been moved and supported. Well, still waiting for an additional discussion. Counselor Freely.
Britt, not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you comfortable right now with the process and the timeline, with the development of the budget, with yourself working on it and the staff that you have involved? Are you comfortable with that, or do you feel we need some additional outside source?
Oh, I'm comfortable with it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other further discussion before we go back to Counselor Bachschnider? Counselor Beyondich?
In regards to the discussion on the budget, the numbers that are coming forward that are not currently in there, will they be input? Because that will affect the overall look of it.
100%, like we always do. And the reason we did the same thing last year, we went through the whole thing first and then came back with revision. Because the year previous, we had 15 revisions that caused issues with everybody around trying to remember which one we were on. So last year, we went through the whole entire budget first and then came back and looked at version number 2 and then went through it again, and then we got down to a levy that we were comfortable with. Remember, the levy is what we're looking for. Enterprise funds and special revenue, we probably will not have set budgets before September 30th. It's the levy we need, which is the general fund, before September 30th.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion before we go back to Counselor Bachschnider? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Counselor Bachschnider.
Thank you. I understand, Britt, you're saying now you're comfortable with it. At the budget meeting, we were told that there's not a lot of time. That's just my concern. I understand this isn't your role. And
Holiday
so,
weekend, so just getting stuff ready between Tuesday, at the holiday weekend, just wasn't working with last week's schedule, stuff that I had working on last week. I do have plans in September we will get this done. I mean, I'll get this as soon as we get through the next budget meeting and get through the last final things. We definitely can get it done. I just
Sounds
didn't
good.
have
Well-
a quick turnaround the 7 days, but.
I still just think that having a person that can be dedicated to it isn't a bad idea, just given the scale of your role right now, filling in for essentially 3 positions, your role, finance and HR. So I would make a motion to post for a contractor to come in and help with help isn't the right word, assist with the 2026 budget, beginning as soon as possible, ending December 31st, 2025, at the rate of $1,000 a month or pro bono.
Okay, motion by Counselor Bachschnider. You have that motion, Pam? Motion by Counselor Boxner, is there support? Is there support? Is there support?
Support.
Support by Counselor Motley. Further discussion? Counselor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't understand how a totally new person is going to come into this position and understand city finances in 2 to 3 weeks for the end of the year. At the committee or at the council meeting, the suggestion was made to hire a retired city employee, which to me smacks of nepotism more than I can believe. That is not appropriate. If we're going to post for something like this, it would have to be a fair and a just thing, and we don't have time. Our staff are fully capable of doing this. They have done it up to this point. Again, I think this is an attempt to help somebody so we don't have to be responsible as counselors on what we want to cut or what we think needs to happen, but to put it on somebody else so that they can be blamed when it doesn't work out. I will not be supporting hiring anybody to come in for $1,000 or for free, you get what you pay for, to help the city move forward in this budgeting process. Our staff have done phenomenally. They are all here, they all show up. This cannot happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It has been moved and supported to post. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Paulson.
Thank you. So why I wouldn't support it prior was because, well, there was a lot of questions I had. I still have questions. But technically, this is a professional services. This would be, you wouldn't be posting it. You're going out for a professional service. And you don't have to post for that. You can actually go and say, we want you as our professional service. That you don't have to, like that, that's not how we've done it in the past, and when you're going out for a professional service, you call that person or whatever, and you say, would you like to da-da-da-da-da?
Mayor, if I may.
Quickly, but the motion doesn't say that. Okay, Counselor, Mr. Lindsay.
Yep. Typically, when you go out for professional service, and I think it is addressed by the city's hiring policy, I think typically that's initiated by a request for proposals.
Okay, I think you're right on that one too. But second of all, I'm just not comfortable with this. I think we're too far down our process already. We've already heard from our department heads, we're too far down the road to have someone come in. And I understand it may or may not be somebody, sorry, I was just reading an email. It may or may not be somebody that's familiar or not familiar with the city finances. But I feel like it is our responsibility to go through the budget like we have every year in the past. So I can't support it because I feel like this is our responsibility. And the only thing that I would want and request to have changed, which I think that I have discussed this with you, Britt, and I know Councilor Beyondich had asked for the department heads to come forward with all of their wants and also in comparison to the capital outlay, the 10-year capital outlay. But in order for us, in my opinion, in order for us to maximize our best time usage and time management as a city government body or city council, is that some of those things be fleshed out prior. I'm coming into my busy season, and at my work, we all have different work obligations, and yes, most of us are very good about being available, and but if we have to add another layer between deciding on wishes and wants versus needs, I feel that might not be the best use of the council body's time, and I apologize, it's just my opinion. And I was always under the understanding that the 10-year capital outlay would be gone through prior to us even having any budget discussion. So when we go through each of those pages in each of those departments, and we have to line by line say, well, what is this? Is this a need or a want? Or, there's a whole lump sum number in there, but we don't know if it's a mower, we don't know if it's a dog park equipment. Like, that to me that's not fair to my time. So I would like to have that more organized, and I feel like if that's more organized, that we would not need an additional person to come in and assist us with this budget process. And I feel like we have done a really good job in the past going through our budget process. And I want to be respectful if you are saying that you can handle this process with the existing staff. I don't also think it's fair if we have someone coming in and saying, this is what your budget should look like, and then the next finance director has to live with that person's budget. I don't think that that's a fair way to conduct a budget process as well. So unfortunately, I cannot support it in that fashion at this time. Thank you.
Okay, let's clarify the motion here. Let's stick to the topic of the motion itself. It's been moved by Councillor Bachschnider, supported by Councillor Motley, to post for a finance contractor. Is there any further discussion on that particular part of the motion? Is there? Councillor Bachschnider.
Thank you. First, I just want to say that insinuating that there's only one person that we want to hire for this is insulting. I think there's probably 7 or 8 people I would call and ask them to consider throwing their hat in if this was approved. But with that, I don't anticipate this getting approved. I don't think there's a need to move this to the council meeting, so I would withdraw my motion.
Okay, Councillor Bachschnider withdraws her motion.
Thank you. Additional comments that I just want to make is I have absolutely zero JAG making cuts to the budget. I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to put that out there now. I think that what we need to do is we need to start by asking every single department head to come back with a 25% reduction in their budget, and we go from there. But I have absolutely zero JAG making cuts to the budget. And then, yeah, I was hoping an auditor, one of our auditors would have been interested to come in and do the budget, but that's not the case, and that's totally fine. I think that insinuating that there's only one person that is just absolutely insulting. So, thank you.
So the motion is, you're withdrawing your motion?
I'm withdrawing my motion.
Okay, Councillor Bachschnider withdraws her motion. Okay, any other?
I will withdraw my support, but I'd like to have a comment. Please.
Yes, Councillor Motley.
Imagine, so this motion doesn't exist anymore, but imagine somebody actually applying where they would actually try to find a way to help us in a finance position for a couple months and actually do a pro bono or for even $1,000 a month, which is nothing. Imagine somebody vested and concerned so much about the city of Virginia that they would do it for almost free. That's priceless. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councillor Motley. Anything else? Okay, so we'll move. So that's the last part of the personnel. Is there any other motion on the floor? Anything else to discuss there at this point in time? No. Okay, I'd like to move the agenda up back to number 7, building and grounds. We have some gentlemen that have been sitting in here for a significant amount of time that may want to be heard or have some information or some interest in the building and grounds report. So I would like to go with the if it's possible, amenable to building and grounds item number 7. Britt?
Yes, thank you. So item 7A was approve the Parks and Recreation Director to obtain quotes to purchase trees and discuss the location of planting said trees along hole number 2.
So move.
Moved by Councillor Bachschnider, supported by
Support.
Councillor Motley. Any further discussion? Councillor Paulson.
Thank you. So it says, and discuss the location of planting along hole number 2. So we're approving the quote to purchase trees, but do we need to have a discussion as to the location of planting them?
My opinion is, my personal opinion is, no, our staff can take care of it. What's best, what's the best interest of providing whatever needs to be done in order to accomplish that? That's my opinion. Councillor Bachschnider?
Thank you. My understanding of this motion is that this is giving Brian Silber the ability to go out and get a quote and get that information and bring it back to us. So no decisions being made right now, just acquiring the information needed to move forward.
And we have, I'm gonna allow a comment from the public here with respect to that. We have, please turn the light on, state your name for the record, and welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Steve Georgie, former president of the Virginia Men's Golf Club, avid golfer, season ticket holder for 40 years. At the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, we presented a petition that I collected in less than, well, it was 1 week's time. 160 plus golfers who all paid to play, to have the privilege of playing at the course, signed the petition. And while the discussion with the committee also focuses on the solution to the concerns of the residents about golf balls entering their lots, et cetera, the petition has another purpose, and that is to have the hole returned to its original form, which is a par 4. Not a par 3 with a temporary mowed tee box on a slant that is not providing any fun or challenge for the golfing public. So that discussion was had. I've talked to the head pro up there and the greenskeeper. They're very concerned that we're killing the fairway because of the excessive traffic now being directed to these temporary tee boxes that have created this par 3. So as part of our concern is we would like to enjoy the remaining month to 6 weeks of fall golf and go back to the par 4 that the hole was originally designed for. So hopefully you would have consideration for that. We were also, as noted, we are going to be taking out the blacktop cart path on the left side of the green. This was something that was suggested, I suggested back in a meeting with the residents up at the golf course. That's going to help reduce any stray golf balls from bouncing over the fence at this time. But we really want the hole to go back to its original intended location, which is a par 4. So I'd ask that you consider that and we give somebody, whether it's Mr. Silber, allowing Steve Fingerroos and Mike to move the tee box back. That's what we're really looking for at this time. Along, again, and I've provided the name and information of the tree company. And one other item of note, I do believe if we were looking for a variety of mature trees, we could talk to US Steel and get some beautiful ash and maple trees in the Parkville area, which is now vacant lots. I just went through there last night and identified a couple of prime suspects. But we do have a nursery on the course, we have trees available, and I do know this company can move those trees readily. So, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Georgie. The motion on the floor is just moved and supported to direct Park and Rec Director Brian Silber to obtain quotes for the purchase of trees and discuss the location of planting on along hole number 2. Further discussion, Councilor Paulson.
Thank you. So do we need to have a conversation though? Because don't you have to, in order to get a quote for how many trees, you need to know where and how many you're planting? Brian? I've heard different ideas about what we're doing on that side. And if it can be put back to a par 4, do we have will that be a different tree plan than if it stays a par 3?
Absolutely.
If I just interrupt just for a moment. So before we go, we've been asking for a single solution for the concerns of the residents. This is more than a single solution. This is there is a various steps that we can take in order to do it to make sure that it accommodates those positions. This is just one of the discussions. We talk about the name. This is both for a much more significant discussion, but the purpose of the goal and objective is to protect or appease the residents that are experiencing those problems, number one, and maintain the integrity of the golf course and the way it was originally intended, number two. So, thank you, Councilor Paulson. Mr. Silber.
To answer your question, Councilor Paulson, yes, tree placement would be different if we convert permanently to a par 3 as opposed to going back to the par 4. Taking into consideration our golfer's preference, the golfer's preference is to maintain hole number 2 as a par 4. So we can do a tree planting design on that. I've already talked with Mike and Steve and myself about ideas of how we would strategically place trees that would encourage people not to try and drive straight, but to go more to the right, thereby reducing the number of balls that are hit into the residential area. However, remember, no matter what we do, we will never completely eliminate bad shots. On the PGA, professional golfers have bad shots and they hook or slice every day. So that is part of the game, but we are trying to minimize the impact to our residents.
Right, that was the overall reason we had all the meetings we did. But my question is, it's still the same. It's a different plan. In my opinion, what was decided was just to do a temporary par 3 until we figured out a plan.
Correct.
And to keep it a par 4. That's what my understanding was.
Yeah. So my plan, unless directed otherwise, is I am moving forward with a tree planting schematic for hole number 2 to be a par 4 because we moved the tee box on a temporary basis. I want to move that tee box back. I also believe that financially it is more in our best interest to do the tree planting as opposed to reconfiguring hole 1 and hole 2, because that would mean a whole lot more greens and tee boxes being relocated, which is a greater expense than relocating trees. I've been in contact with the tree company that does have a spade. Actually, that's one of the reasons I've been ducking in and out of this meeting today, is talking with them. We are looking at approximately $2,000 per tree to have it relocated. However, they have concerns. They are not from the Virginia area. When they think of Virginia, they think of slate rock. And he's not willing to ruin his equipment by putting it into rock. So before he's actually willing to give us a true quote, he's given me a budgetary price right now, but before he's willing to give me a good quote, he would like me to dig down several feet in a couple of the areas that we're looking to see what type of soils that he would be digging into. So I'm going to try and go up to both our tree farm area that we have at the golf course and do some digging to see, will his spade be going into rock area, or do we have a lot of dirt in those areas? So we still have questions. Just getting a quote and moving forward is not going to happen within the next week. This is time sensitive though to do, because we are in our prime time of the year to transplant trees. We don't want to do that come winter time. September is our best time to do it. So it is imperative that we are not dragging our feet and moving forward.
We currently, as a city, do not have the equipment to do the transplantation ourselves.
We do not have any equipment to transplant trees.
Okay. And then, Brian, and I'm sorry I'm being long-winded. I need to understand, because it's gonna, depending upon how many, I mean, you might be just relocating trees, but you're also, this is to get quotes to purchase mature trees. That's what this motion is that correct?
Get quotes.
That's what this quote, or that's what this motion is. I will tell you, I will not be able to get a quote to purchase a new, fully grown tree. The best I can get is to purchase a tree is a 15-foot tree, which from what I've heard in our meetings, that is not a tall enough tree that the council would like to see transplanted. So the two options that we have a private individual who has property that they have some trees on that would be willing to donate some trees to us if we go and get them and move them. We also have what is referred to as the tree farm on hole 12 at the Virginia Golf Course, and so we'll be evaluating those trees to move some of those also. I can get the price for the 15-foot trees. I probably still will get a price to get some of those 15-foot trees, but will make more of an impact immediately by transplanting our existing trees from 12 to 2.
So we're authorizing to get quotes, and you're saying maybe that's not the way we should go. Maybe we should direct you to see what you can actually do.
Authorize me to get the quotes and everything, because unless you don't like keeping, or if you're authorizing me to get quotes to move these trees, you're also authorizing me to get quotes to supplement the moving of our existing trees with some new trees. I'm perfectly happy with that. Just know that in my mind, you are authorizing me to do this, keeping hole 2 as a par 4, not a par 3.
That's my next, and I'm sorry, this is a big discussion in my opinion. So are you saying, because when someone at the meeting was suggesting on the left side, you could do a buffer and maybe redirect and change the fairway. Now, I don't know if that's a good solution, but I'm trying to appease everybody, thinking of public safety as my number one priority. Also, the golfers are absolutely a priority. I don't mean it in that way, but to keep it a par 4, to put the right buffer, what do we need to do?
We need to add a bank of trees on the left side that's coming out a little bit away from where we will move the fence eventually. So kind of in what today looks like the golf course, a bank of 3 to 4 trees in that area that will visually encourage the golfers as they are teeing off not to go straight, but to angle a little bit to the right. We're not changing the course and having it dogleg, but we're putting a visual barrier on their left-hand side that I don't want to hit these trees. Then we will also plant some additional trees along the avenue there to provide that natural barrier for when somebody does hook or slice, depending on if they're right-handed or left-handed, and there is the golf ball heading there, that there is a natural barrier that will hopefully catch the golf ball today and for the next several decades to come as those trees continue to mature.
In your opinion, Brian, will this solve the public safety issue of balls hitting people? I mean, you can't guarantee that someone isn't going to slice, but will this significantly decrease the amount of errant balls?
This should decrease the amount of stray shots going onto the avenue.
Okay.
Will never completely solve the problem.
Okay, I'm fine with moving forward with the motion as long as it includes you to have the ability, even if it's to work with Mr. Georgie on the offer, maybe the idea or suggestion that he had as well. Thank you.
Just for clarity purpose, so that we don't end back up here again next year, as we are looking at planting or transplanting the trees and everything, it is my intention to mark on the golf course where those trees go and have a public input time where the residents come see where I have X's or stakes put onto the golf course. I can then also get some feedback from our golf community. And you as counselors are more than welcome to come out and look and see where we are planning and what the plan is for that hole, so that we can take all of that feedback before we break ground and put trees in that are very expensive to relocate a year or so into the future.
I would make
Counselor-
I'm sorry.
Was there a motion? Was there support? Okay, further discussion? Counselor Bionich.
Thank you. Just a few things. At that meeting, we had how many suggestions come out of that? I think were there 6 or 7? 12? So are we open to any of them, or is this the one that will be it? And did the residents have any?
Well, there may be
input?
other options to move forward to help supplement what we're going to do, but this is the initial stage in try to develop, replace trees that have already been gone. We're given the authority to do that, move that back to a par 4. There are other suggestions that were made to close 11th Avenue altogether. That was one suggestion. The other was to put the big 20-foot net up all the way along the golf course, which was cost of $285,320,000. That was another option. Another option was to find grant money and those individuals, residents who are concerned about the golf balls going in the yard, to help find a grant to do, give them a one-time deal of an individual net, so they can put that in their yard that they want. As we know, the study shows that a 20-foot net, or the apex of the ball is beyond 20 feet, a net is not going to do any good unless it's farther across the street into somebody's yard. That was another suggestion. There are a myriad of others that were involved. I think we need to vet that out, but I think we have to start right here with Brian and doing that and moving that back to a par 4. Councilor Beyondich.
And I'm okay with the par 4. That doesn't, I mean, that's fine. Did the trees get moved back inside the fence yet? Or will they this fall be moved back in? And does that impact at all the trees that you'd be putting in?
No, we have
There.
not moved the trees because we don't have the proper equipment to move the trees. Those trees would be part of this process that I am looking at having appropriately moved. If we move the trees with our equipment, I might as well move them with a chainsaw because we don't have the proper equipment to move them, and moving them, we probably have a 90% chance that we will kill them with how we would be able to move them. So I'm waiting to hopefully move them and give them the best opportunity to survive, which is what this motion that you've given me to do will allow me to do. Otherwise, it would be, we're moving them and then die. They probably would die and we'd be replacing them.
I just wondered if they were part of that overall plan then.
So they need to be part of that overall plan. And so as we develop this overall plan, or start marking on the ground where this overall plan is, you'll be able to see where the new trees will be going or being moved to. And I can also develop a little sketch that I can share with you and the neighbors of which trees will be moved and where, and the new to that area trees.
Mr. Rosvit, our Public Works Director. Good morning, Jim.
Morning. I just wanted to bring up, it'd be best if we can keep all the trees on the other side of the fence, because all the snow that comes off that hillside we plow it down the hill. We can't plow snow in the winter uphill there. It's steep. Also, there's no steam heat there anymore. So we've got to sand and salt those alleys a lot in them streets. So all that runoff of salt will run down that to the fence line. So all of our snow goes down to 11th Avenue, between 11th Avenue and the fence line. So I just want to throw that, so everybody's aware of that, we would probably kill more trees just with the salt coming off what we have to do, and then the snow, where if we have no trees there, we can run with the blower and remove that snow. Otherwise, we're kind of fishing it out there with the loader, and we do damage to trees there too, so.
I would imagine that's a coordination between you and Park and Rec with respect to that. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you. Jim, I just have a question. Do you have the right equipment to move those little pine trees? There's 5 of them, and the little saplings?
Oh, we don't, we could, I mean, you could rent a spade for probably an attachment for something
Or
if
are we
need be.
Range Landscaping or Vern's who put those in?
It was Range Landscaping that put those in.
And then they didn't do it anymore, and so Vern's took over. Is that, it was one or the other?
Burns is our tree supplier now, yes.
Okay, and I'm sure Vern's has the ability to do that, and it was moved, supported, and as a directive to move those trees. And there were 5 pine trees, and I think 2 or 3 of the saplings, or whatever you call them. So that needs to be accommodated in the fall or whenever, and I fully expect that that is going to be done. And if they need to be part of the larger tree plan, fine, but that should not be a part of the actual budget to put or transplant any other trees to be a buffer in order to open that back up to a par 4. So I want that clarified.
And you're correct, that's not part of the motion here. The motion here was, discussion was getting trees that are taller than 15 feet to
Correct.
put alongside there.
So-
it's very different discussion, sorry.
My expectation then is those trees, as Mr. Rosvit just said, before they get ruined from either plowing over them or grading over them or salt, that those get moved, and whatever that expense is, it shouldn't be too bad, that Vern's greenhouse, if that's now who's taking care of the landscaping, that our staff be in contact with them to get those moved before the snow flies. If that's the proper time to transplant them is in the fall, this is the time to do it. And that's my expectation. Thank you.
Okay. A lot of discussion here, a lot of different aspects of ideas of what we're going to do. Staff has already taken a look at that. We're coming up with a plan moving forward, but that's not the motion on the floor. Read back the motion, please, Pam.
Moved by Counselor Bachschnider, supported by Counselor Motley, to approve the Parks and Recreation Director to obtain quotes to purchase trees and discuss the location of planting them along hole number 2.
That has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. So we have 1, 2, 3, we have 5 here to make that vote, so we can, that passes. So thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Next item.
Go back up to item number 3 so we can get Matt Reed from SCH up here to discuss his items.
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
Good morning. I know how to clear out a room, don't I? Okay. So the first 2 items are related, but I'll try to give a brief explanation of each. So I'm here more or less on behalf of MnDOT. I asked them to come to the meeting. They weren't able to make it today. So I said I would present it instead so that we can keep things moving. So there's 2 change orders that they're requesting. This is on the Borgen Road project, so it's up by the school. One of them, the first one, change order number 8, there's several miscellaneous items on there, but long and the short of it, there's drainage concerns that they needed to account for, and that's what a lot of those items are for. So probably the biggest one other than just some extra sidewalk, some extra curb, and a little bit of riprap. I don't know if any of you have driven up there, but since they milled that road off, right at the intersection of White Cedar Drive, it's always wet there. There's always water coming through the pavement. When they first started it this spring, I thought it was we had all the rain and everything, which it partially was, but it's actually coming up through the pavement. And what we think happened is there's water running right down the bedrock, and it just gets to a point where it can't go anymore, so it seeps up through the pavement. So it really wasn't anything that was prevalent before. There was enough cracks in the pavement, I'm sure. It just managed to find its way out of there. So they've got to go back and put some drain tile in and do some corrective measures there to make sure that that doesn't affect the new pavement. So that's kind of one of the major items there. Again, all of these items, had they known about them, had it been in the original plan, these expenses would have been incurred. Most of them are at unit price anyway, the ones they could do. So that's change order number 8. I don't know if you want me to explain the other one, or if we want to, since it's a separate item, if we want to just take that one first and then I can move on to the next one.
Okay, we'll act on item number 8. Council? Councilor Paulson?
Matt, what is the total of item 8?
Let's see here.
39,690.
So, and to be clear, they're still working through some of the prices. This is typical on how they work through things a little bit differently than what we do as a city. So it sometimes takes them a little while to finalize prices. So these prices are not 100% final yet. But what they're presenting to us right now is, 30, where is it? Yep.
693. Is that covered? Is there anything in that contingency budget to cover that cost or no?
So this is a little bit, $39,693.52. This one's a little bit unique. Not unique, different from what our typical projects are, because this is a MnDOT-led project that we have a cost participation as a part of it. When we budget, we usually carry a contingency. I suspect we probably had a contingency in this, albeit we do have, one way or the other, we do have state aid. This is a state aid project, so we do have state aid funds that can cover this. This should be 100% eligible for state aid and all these items.
You just had stated in your email, most, if not all. So I just need to know, is it all or is it most?
It looks like all. That's why I was just kind of looking as I say it. All these items should be eligible and should be covered by state aid.
So this change order should be fine.
Should be.
It should be covered. Okay.
Yeah.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Councilor Paulson moves to approve the change order number 8. Is there support?
Support for discussion.
Support by Councilor Bachschnider for discussion. Further discussion, Councilor Bachschnider.
So this might be a totally out of scope question, but did we switch Hoover Road and Borgen Road for plowing purposes? And would this be our responsibility then?
Matt?
Yeah, so no, it wasn't switched for plowing purposes. There were some discussions with the county that Borgen Road does in fact act more like a county road, and Hoover Road does in fact act more like a city road. And so through several discussions, the decision was just made, it made sense to switch those roads. To your second question, as part of the cooperative agreement with the county or the flip-flop agreement, if you, I'm missing the technical term, the exchange, the city is still responsible for the work that is currently going on to Borgen up through White Cedar Drive and anything associated with that. Once we get that done, once that project is finished, that anything moving forward from that would become the county's responsibility on Borgen Road.
Wait, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Bachschnider. We have a motion on the floor yet? And supported? Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries, motion passes. We have 5 votes for, so thank you. Next change order.
All right, the next one, again, in this situation, they had planned for street lighting, a certain type of a street lighting base that they could dig in and do their normal thing. When they got into the construction, they found that they couldn't get quite deep enough to support the height of the bases, so they've got to go to a different type of a street light base because of the rock. And so this is the cost for the city's portion of the streetlights that have to be drilled into the rock as a different style base to support the lights. The city did have a share on Morgan Road of, I think there was 4 of them. I can't remember for sure off the top of my head, but there was, anyway, long and the short of it, they had to use a different base to support it, and so this is the additional cost. They did have a $5,000 deduct included in this price, so this is the net for some of the other things. But again, much as we don't like to see change orders on projects, had they planned for this to begin with, this cost would have been there for the city's portion of the lighting. So none of us like to see them come through as a change order. And as I said, normally we carry a contingency for these types of reasons right here, the unforeseens. But most of the time, the unforeseens, though had they been foreseen, would have been included, and those costs would have been incurred regardless. So it just comes in the form of a change order. Once again, this is state aid eligible, so we can cover it, and we do have adequate funds in our state aid balance to cover this one as well.
I'll move the approval for change order number 12.
Support.
Councilor Freely moves to approve change order number 12 for the light foundation modifications and supported by Councilor Bachschnider. Further discussion? Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Matt. Could you provide us the balance of our state aid for 2025 at some point down the road, if you don't mind?
Not at all.
And you say that we have enough to cover this plus the other project that we just approved?
Yeah,
What do you think is left in there?
not much. After we get done with this, and
Because on
after
the
we
last
get,
project, you said it may cover all, some if not all.
no, it'll cover this. We're okay here.
We're okay here.
Yep, and we've got some state aid money being used for 14th Southern Drive project that's ongoing. And then we'll have to see where the balance sits. We were talking about possibly advancing state aid money for the 6th Avenue project. Still discussion to still come. It was an option that we had talked about. So we do have enough for sure to cover this.
If we don't use that, Matt, does it roll over into 26?
Yep,
So by using this, we're pinching ourselves off in 26.
we are, but the money is there to be used on state aid projects. They like to, I mean, it's there to be used. So that's why, you're correct, it would roll over, but this is why we have them available for us to, those funds annually available to use for our projects.
And then, just correct me on if I'm wrong, at some point though, when that swap happens, that's not going to be a state aid road anymore because we're swapping it to Hoover
Correct.
for our state aid road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But we're still obligated now, since it is designated state aid road, to tap into those state aid funds.
We're obligated, being it has nothing really to do with the fact that it's a state aid road, is that it's a city road.
City road, right.
We're utilizing our state aid funds because it is a designated state aid street right now. We're using those funds to pay for the city's share of the cost related to that road.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Matt?
All right, and the third item, there was a council directive a few months ago when we were having all of the heavy rains for Jim and I and Paul Christensen to look at the storm sewer, or the overflow pipe at the wastewater treatment plant, the sanitary sewer overflow pipe for the plant that ties directly into the storm sewer. That's one of, there's two of them. There's two big outlet pipes that go down along the east side of the wastewater treatment plant. One of them has the overflow tying into it, and the concern was, if we open that overflow, are we backing up storm sewer? What's happening there, I guess? And is there an opportunity to make it better if we turn it into its own pipe? So I'll try to keep the longer story short, and then if you guys still have some questions, feel free to ask. The short answer is that creek or ditch or whatever you want to call it, that all of this runs into, there's storm sewer, there's the overflow to the wastewater plant, there's all of it flows to that same location. At a preliminary glance, or at least at a glance, at a little bit of a little bit of research from what it used to be to what it is now, I don't think spending the money to separate those pipes is going to be the best use of city's funds, because I don't think it's going to have much, or at least a significant impact on the relief downstream. There are times when I don't want to open up this and rehash the whole thing again, but there are times when the wastewater plant is still operating at under capacity, and problems are happening upstream. So there's lift stations, there's I&I, all the things that we've been talking about for the last several months. So that wouldn't have any impact at all in those situations, because the plant's still operating under capacity, underneath its capacity. So at that point, the overflow is not even open. So the problems are more upstream in many of the cases. Furthermore, the discharge outlet, the actual discharge for the clean water that comes out of the wastewater plant discharges into that same creek just a little bit farther downstream. I keep calling it a creek. I don't know what it actually is. It's ditch, the ditch. So if we start releasing water faster, if it was to make a difference, and we release water faster to that creek, it's just going to build up and it's going to back up the discharge of the plant. And essentially, we're going to be pushing the water back around through the overflow, which you're really not doing anything. You're just circling the water around. So at the end of the day, I wanted to report back to the council, because you asked us to look into this, and we have. I think our efforts are better spent trying to solve the actual problem, because that overflow, to be clear, that overflow has been tied into that storm sewer for 40, 50 years. So I look back to the plans prior to any of the modifications, and it's been there. So I think our money and our time is better spent continuing to work on the other things, and I asked Pam, and she did, to attach that memo I had written back in June that had the list of things that we're already doing and some of the things we're going to continue to do. That's what I think we should continue to focus on. And one of the items in there was to look at this, and we've looked at it now, and at this time, my recommendation to you is to not focus much more time on that right now. Let's focus on something else that might actually make a difference, or more of a difference anyway. So some ongoing things like continuing to look at the steam crossover, some of the crossovers between the storm and the sanitary. Once Jim gets that new camera that you guys approved a while back, we're gonna be able to try to find some more of the I&I issues. The smoke testing, that sounded to me like that had a pretty interesting result. I'm waiting to hear on all the recommendations that come out of that. Those types of things are going to make a difference, because the actual problem is upstream of the wastewater plant, upstream of the overflow, upstream of all of that. And those are the areas that we really need to focus on. Now, again, thinking, okay, how can we relieve something short-term? Because this is going to take a while. Again, I think focusing on those types of things is going to help. And if you're getting the backups upstream at the lift stations, there's no sense in spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more, separating a pipe that's really not going to have a profound impact currently. So I'm reporting back to the council. That got a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but I'm reporting back with the findings, so at least you understood that we had looked at it and here's what we found for now. It's an ongoing process, so I'll stop talking and let you guys ask questions if you have any.
Counselor Paulson?
Okay, so Matt, I feel like all of us, we don't want to have to go through this again next year, and none of the residents do either. And I don't know if you got a copy of the spreadsheet, the completed spreadsheet Britt did, was Matt included in that? I don't know. But just like some of the questions that I asked of the dates that it happened, what was being monitored, when was the bypass valves, when was it open, blah, blah, blah. It showed, I think the majority of the monitoring was happening at Pearsall location. Jim, I think that was, 4 of those. So I don't know what other lift stations were not being monitored. But how do we stop this from, like, if you're saying it doesn't make sense to put a separate pipe, because it's all going to the same thing, it's gonna just circulate around, we're not solving the problem. Smoke testing is going to help, which I appreciate the fact that you guys are doing this, but how can we prevent this from happening next rain season, again, with this flooding for the residents? So, look, are there specific lift stations, like, or should the monitoring be happening, like you're saying this, the plant's operating under capacity. Is there a different capacity, quote unquote, level that we could say is capacity in order to kick in a bypass response?
I'll assume that. Vice Mayor, there is ongoing communication with Public Works and the wastewater treatment plant operators. That started back I sat in on a meeting, and so there's ongoing communication. There's sort of the bypass plan that Paul Christensen, I think, presented one day. That is a fluid plan. And so there's some ongoing discussions about what if, and let's see how this impacts everything, and there's some tweaking we can do, things like that. So hopefully that will help on that end of it. Again, we can't just open the bypass valve just for the sake of opening the bypass valve, and especially if it's not really doing anything.
Well, since though, I would say, since the change that has happened with being more proactive, like Paul Christensen had stated, the change is that no one got flooded.
We haven't had rains like we had since then either.
Well,
So-
we have actually 2 or 3 other times. We did have that high rainfall where we all came home to check our basements.
Worried about it?
And there was no flooding.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
it's an excellent thing, but whatever is working, I feel it needs to be incorporated into that plan. I appreciate the work and time that you spent trying to see if this additional pipe would make sense. But I also feel like Jim had mentioned something about, and I don't know what location was this pipe. A bigger one was running into a smaller one. I don't know where that, but it's all coming.
That's Southern Drive, that's
Southern?
the entrance, going into Southern Drive drops it, like Matt said, it drops it at 24 inch, that's what treats in the plant. But you've got, I believe, 24s and a 36 there, Matt,
Yep.
so you got 3 pipes coming into a 24 inch, so they're restricting, and we don't know the condition and their long runs.
Yep.
So we've got to clean them and televise them, and we think there might be some crossover lines coming into the net, more, because a lot of this water that's coming in, it's clear water. It's rainwater. Sanitary sewer.
Yep. So that's an ongoing process. I guess what I want to make sure is that we are continuing to work on this plan and on this issue, so that come next year's rain season, we can't say, well, we should have done that in the fall.
Yes,
We are-
certainly there are ongoing things, and I'm glad to hear that made a difference because that's
It
some of the
really
stuff that
did.
the coordination's been doing. So, yes, we'll continue to work on those things, and hopefully, yeah.
Thanks, Matt. We'll look for some updates, and then as you work with Mr. Rosvit and others at the water sewer treatment plant to find what's the best alternative solution that we can do to help alleviate and mitigate what's happened.
Yep.
So thanks a lot, Matt.
You're
Appreciate it very
welcome.
much.
Matt. Number 4 is approve a 3-year contract with Premier.
Hey, Britt.
Yes.
Could we jump to item number 9, since we have our chief here to, I'm assuming, talk about it?
Yes. Item number 9 is approve the resolution to hire two dual-role firefighter EMTs, and unfortunately, one of them has declined. So it'd be a resolution to hire one dual-role firefighter EMT.
So moved.
Move to approve by Counselor Beyondich. Is there support?
Support.
By Counselor Freely. Further discussion? Counselor Bachschnider?
Thank you. The only question I have, given our current staffing levels, would public safety be at risk if this is not filled?
Mr. Mayor, good morning. Council, everyone, good morning. We are down 4 currently. So anytime we're down that many, what we ask additionally of our current staff, that list gets high. So we, like Britt said, we did interview 2 that were qualified. Again, national shortage on anyone in public safety right now. One did decline, he just bought a home in South Superior. So we really prefer to move on this one.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion with respect to this request? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Might as well go to item number 10 because Brian's here.
Item number 10 is approve the resolution hiring a lead recreation assistant.
One more time, Britt.
Approve the resolution to hire a lead recreation assistant.
Okay. Brian, you just requesting, I know that we, a lot of the recreation assistants we had are on a part-time basis. As we all know, how that works. We should all know that. But everybody gone back to school and we don't have anybody, so you're looking to refill. Is that correct? Or
No.
not?
This is the lead recreation position that that was vacated several months ago. This position has gone through the Personnel Committee. We've updated the job description to what it's currently doing. We've put it out. We've had several qualified applicants. We've interviewed them, and now we're bringing forth a recommendation to hire and fill that position that is budgeted for this current budget year and next year.
And if we approve this, we'll just have one lead recreation assistant, correct?
That is correct. We are only budgeted for one lead recreation position.
All right, very good. Thank you.
I'll move the approval of resolution for hiring a lead recreation assistant.
Counselor Freely moves to approve the resolution to hire the lead recreation assistant. Is there support? Is there support? I will support. Further discussion? Anyone? Anyone? Can I? Well, we're hiring a personnel, yeah. We have 5, don't we? Yeah, we have 5. So, and it's appropriate for me to second the motion from the mayor. So, okay, moves further discussion. Councilor Bachschnider.
I have not supported filling this role from the beginning, and I will continue to not support filling this role. Thank you.
Sure. Moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion, please, Pam.
Motley is absent. Paulson? Beyondich?
Aye.
Bachschnider?
No.
Friedlieb?
Aye.
Huffy?
Aye. Motion fails 4 to 1. Thank you.
Going back to item number 4.
Let's go.
Approve a 3-year contract for Premier Pyrotechnics for the fireworks display.
And the firework display, is that limited to only the fireworks after the Land of the Loon, or does that include the Winter Carnival Parade too?
We do not have a firework display after Land of the Loon. We have a 4th of July
sorry,
fireworks.
I apologize,
And
yes.
the fireworks after the Twilight Holiday Parade. I believe this is a 3-year agreement for the 2 firework displays per year.
Mayor?
Thank you. Yes, Pam?
Okay, so I've been working with Premier. They are the ones that did our fireworks displays this year on the 4th of July. And so they are honoring the same price due to the fact that there can possibly be an increase in the fireworks when they buy them. They will still honor the price, but not guaranteeing the same type of show with the same shots, just because of the increase in
Brian?
pricing.
Thank you, Pam.
So essentially, if fireworks, the price of fireworks skyrocket, we could have a shorter or smaller display. If fireworks prices stay the same, we'd have the same quality show that we are accustomed to.
So if we move to approve this with that codicil, would we know that, how soon would we know that? And the reason I ask is because there are a lot of other communities that take donations for their fireworks displays, and then that's something that maybe we need to consider, number one, and if this goes go up, number two, or find some way to supplement so we don't compromise the integrity of the fireworks that were displays that we're approving for the public. So, right. Yes, please, Pam.
So I've been in contact with Brian, I can't think of his last name right now, but he is very good at calling me and letting me know exactly what is happening throughout the time period. So they would be in contact with us to let us know.
So,
And this is a 3-year contract, so they're honoring the $21,000 for the 3 years.
okay, thank you. Well, it should be contingent maybe on there, but anyway, okay, council? Questions, comments? Councilor Paulson?
I would move to approve.
Councilor Paulson moves to approve the pyrotechnics contract with Premier for a 3-year period for the same price that they've had before for all 3 of those years. Is there support for that? Is there support? I will support. I think it's important to have a fireworks display. Maybe the motion should be amended, but I'm supporting it for further discussion. Further discussion. Councilor Bach-Schneider.
As I mentioned earlier, I have no jag with cutting the budget, and I think this is a good budget-saving measure for us, so I will not be supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We tried that before, and so this is the motion on the floor to approve. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion, roll call, please, Pam.
Paulson?
Aye.
Beyondich?
Aye.
Bachschnider?
No.
Friedlieb? Duffy?
Aye, motion fails 4-1, thank you. Next item, please. I'm sorry, Councilor Beyondich?
Thank you. And keeping in mind the budget, I do think that going forward, we should look at other ways to fund this, because I do believe other communities around us do that as not part of a city budget. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, yep, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. The next item, number 5, is discuss the live bar and venue agreement for the Iron Trail Motors Event Center.
Brian?
This is a happier discussion. Live Barn, as you may know, is our live video feed that people can log into to watch events that are occurring in the arena. The reason this is before you today is our current agreement with them has expired, and we've renegotiated a new venue agreement. Essentially, what the new venue agreement is rather than just getting a cut of the proceeds every year, we are starting in September. They would cut us a check for $1,300 per arena. And then on top of that, we get a cut of the streaming revenue that is generated. Again, this does not stream all the time. It only streams for the events that we say we want streamed. So the high school hockey, youth hockey, things like that. We have not streamed any of our figure skating shows because we've used Masabi Community TV to do that. This does not, the camera is not on all the time. It is only on for those events that we ask for it to be on for. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to ask or answer them, but I would encourage the council to approve this agreement.
So move.
Councilor Bachschnider moves to approve the agreement and is supported by Councilor Freelieb. Is there any further discussion? Brian?
Mayor, if I may, just one item. So that $1,300 payment that's being made per sheet of ice to the city, my understanding in reading through the terms of the agreement was that that's a guaranteed minimum payment, and the only way we would receive additional money from streaming is if if our percentage of the subscriptions exceeded that $1,300 per sheet.
Yeah.
So it's not a guaranteed extra payment. They're guaranteeing us $1,300 per sheet of ice. And then the other item that I bring up, and I think I brought up last time we reviewed this contract, Live Barn wants to own all of the rights and keep all of the materials. And there's a little bit of a question in my mind about how that would work as it relates the data practices laws. If they're in a contract with us collecting data on our behalf as the city, how does that work? But ultimately, the opinion I have this time is the same as I did last time. If that were to ever really become a dispute, the state law would trump. So I'm not too much of a concern there.
And Live Barn is in arenas all throughout the state and the nation. They comply with data requests whenever they do come before them. So I have no issues with asking them for video footage of a time that they had been recording.
And because this is public, there's no HIPAA issue, is that correct?
Correct, yeah, no
thank you.
no worries there. The only other concern is paragraph 3, the exclusivity clause of this agreement wouldn't necessarily allow us to bring in a separate vendor to do the ice skating show.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Paulson?
Thank you. I remember I was concerned about the privacy issues, and I think one of the examples we had is if there was like a hockey player that was being filmed and they fell down, and then they became a famous hockey player, then that Live Barn would actually own the content of that. And I truly thought, Brian, that we took that out of the contract. And if not, I feel like we probably should, the exclusivity part, and then that they don't own the content. And I don't know, Brian, if he would be, I don't know why he wouldn't be open to that. I don't know why that they would need to own the content.
Ryan?
Mayor. The reason that they're looking for exclusivity is they're monetizing this asset. And so if they're not the exclusive owners, or if they can't say we're pretty much the exclusive owners of it, then that content loses a lot of value, and they wouldn't be as probably willing to come in and do as much for us. I mean, it looks like they're going to provide us a good amount of, at least one TV screen, and there's some other things that they're doing, and they're going to provide us with these guaranteed minimum payments. All of that, I'm sure, in their business model is linked to the exclusivity and their ability to monetize that. As far as the privacy concerns or the individual, one of the other terms of this contract is that they will supply us signs that we're supposed to put at the entrances of the building and at each arena, just disclosing to everybody that there's cameras and that they may be recorded and that everybody consents to the use of their likeness and all that stuff. So
I just have a little issue, especially after that Coldplay concert. Kidding. I think that we need to talk about this before we sign. And I had those same concerns the last time, and the exclusivity, I mean, if that precludes cable access, public access from filming that, I'm not in favor of keeping the exclusivity clause. If it's an exclusivity clause on a live stream type situation, I'm okay with that. But there needs to be clarification, I think, on that part of it. But the only thing that they've done is put the camera in there. That's all that they've done is install it. They're making money on any subscription that comes forward. And as you just pointed out, we're not making any additional, even though they have increased, which is great. But if it's not above and beyond it's $2,600 annual between the two sheets of ice, is that correct? $1,300 a sheet? Is that what you had said? Yeah. So if they're not fulfilling more than $2,600 worth of subscriptions annually, we're not getting any money off of it anyway, or any additional money.
Their contract is limited to live stream, so we may be able to tell them, do not turn the camera, we want to make sure the cameras are off for these events because they're not intended to be live streamed. These aren't our high school hockey games or the types of events that we live stream.
Well, I think it'd be great to have it live streamed as well. If people aren't there, they could watch it on that, but I don't think an exclusivity, plus I don't think that they should be the content owners at all. I don't know what anyone else feels about that, but I had very much concerns the last time we talked about this, that they should not be owning content. It's great they will provide us, if we do a data practice, they'll provide us if there was an incident or an injury or something like that. But to actually have them own the content, I think is not something that I, again, like I wasn't in the past, comfortable with.
So it has been moved and supported. Further discussion quickly for me. Brian, we've had this line bar contract. It basically is the same as was before. Is that correct?
Yes, this is their standard contract.
So, and they currently provided it last year.
Yes, for the past 3 years.
Yeah, okay. And so have you run across any problems as related to that at all?
No.
Thank you. Councilor Bachschnider.
When does the existing contract expire?
It did.
It already expired, so we
Yes.
don't, and they're still operating, or no?
The cameras are still in there, so we still can operate the cameras.
Okay.
Just right now, there are no events to live stream.
Okay, so it expired August 31st. This would be effective September 1st.
And really, our first event that we would look at live streaming would potentially be a high school hockey game when they start in November. We did receive a request from a renter here last month to live stream a event in the Chevy Arena, which they requested at 5:30 on a Friday afternoon. I was able to reach out to Live Barn on a whim to see if they could do it, and by 7 o'clock, we had the live stream up and running for our customers. So they are very good to work with.
That's good to know. I guess I'm just wondering, and I'm not making a motion, I'm just asking a question.
I think there's a motion on the floor and support for
Yeah.
that already.
But I'm wondering if it would be appropriate to table until the next committee of the whole meeting, and then have Brian, Lindsay, our attorney, discuss and try to negotiate something prior to the next committee of the whole meeting. Does that seem like a reasonable timeline, Brian?
Yeah, Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Lindsay.
Yeah, there's nothing unreasonable about that timeline. The other things to keep in mind, based on the fact that this is their standard agreement, and I do recall this from their last agreement, there are what we call perpetual renewal clauses in these contracts. And so really, this proposal that they've brought to us, assuming that it's all the same terms and conditions, but adding in this additional payment option, nobody has given the requisite notice to cancel the contract. So theoretically, we may still be I would have to go back and double check this, but my recollection is that the last contract had a perpetual renewal clause in it as well. So I'm surely happy to go out and attempt to get some clarification to make sure that we could still do the local broadcast of the skating shows, and to just talk with them about a few of our issues and make slight adjustments if need be. But I can't guarantee any results.
And I don't believe the intent of this contract is to trump any other broadcast. I believe they want to be the exclusive live streaming version rather than us bringing in two separate live streaming options into the arena.
I guess I personally don't have concerns with moving this to even the council meeting and not tabling it. And if that discussion can happen in the next week's time, I think that that would be fine. So if I need to amend my motion or to have those adjustments in there, I would, but it doesn't seem like I would have to.
I think we'll move the issue forward to the council for action, and if we need to make amendments to that motion, we're just making the motion to forward it for further discussion and comment and potential vote.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Councilor Paulson?
Thank you. So does that mean that it will be explored about the exclusive content, exclusivity, and then owning the content? Is that the two things that you're going to have a conversation about? Okay. And I know, I mean, I support this. I feel like now that you brought that up, those are my two contentions the last couple goes. And, you know, yeah, MediaCom gives us their standard contract too, but is it exactly in the city's best interest? So if we can negotiate something that maybe like makes a little bit more sense, and it's nothing financial at all, it's just maybe making allowances for the skating show or other items, that would be appreciated. And then I will support the motion. Thank you.
Has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brian.
Item number 6 is discuss the updated information for the lease of the 2024 grader.
Okay, thank you. And we will be discussing this with, we do not have a quorum as far as a motion goes to take action, on any spending items. But we do have enough as a quorum for 4 to make decisions on things other than that. So thank you. Anybody? Councilor Paulson, and then we'll ask Jim if he has any comments to make as well. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to hear if Jim wants to make comments, but just if we can't do anything, I would just table it till the next committee of the whole.
Would you come up, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Just, I guess, if you want to discuss it, it just says, what are we discussing here? Review the
proposed
Counselor Paulson?
terms.
So, Mr. Rosvit obtained other information regarding the lease payments at the amount that you had requested per year, which is $8,855.
Not
And
per
it
year.
is a 10-year lease.
It's about a $52,000 per year.
Yes. So it's a monthly.
Or 6 months.
Could you clarify that? It's $8,855 a month or 52 something thousand a year, but what's the 6 months? 6 years?
Initially, it's 6 months of payments of $8,850. So I believe it's about $52,000 a year we'd be paying
Or starting in '26?
for 4 years. And then we'd have the opportunity to buy that lease out for the remainder, $220,000, $224,000. And we could either finance it through John Deere and continue that, but. And I'm beyond frustrated right now. It's Tuesday, a long weekend. I've spent 3.5 hours in here to not even able to bring it to anybody's attention. How many times have I been up to the table to do this before? I'm backed up the way things are already. All I'm trying to do is get you the information you need, try to get the ball rolling. Either that or I've got to see if I can get a transmission rebuilt on a grader, see if I can piece another one together. I'm running out of time. I'm beyond frustrated right now.
Anyone?
Well, we're not in the position today to make a decision on spending anyhow, correct?
Well, no, we're not, we don't have a quorum to spend the money. We could certainly continue to discuss it. And I know the two gentlemen in the audience just left are happy that the fact that we're not going to be able to make a decision on spending the money. But I'm telling you that sometimes you cut your nose off to spite your face. You have to make decisions based upon what's in the best interest of the community. How are you going to provide the services moving forward? I'm just frustrated as Mr. Ross. We're just trying to do the best job we can. If we had other alternatives, it'd be different. If we had the equipment necessary, if we had the options necessary on a used piece of equipment to do that, he would have brought that for us to begin with. I'm just as frustrated as you, Jim. But first, Brian, and then over to Councilor Paulson.
Thanks, Mayor. I don't want to drag the conversation out. Though we don't have the requisite number of councilors to spend money today, we could forward it set it as an agenda item for the regular meeting.
Yes, thank you, Brian. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was just going to ask. So it can be moved forward to discuss further at the council meeting, and that does not bypass what we always say in terms of having to go, not what we always say, what we've passed, that it has to go through a committee of the whole first. So if we move it forward to the council meeting, we can still be provided all of the documentation. Could you put the buyout on there and is that on here, Pam?
Yes.
Everything's there.
So I misspoke when
Understand it.
It was $8,855 a month for 6 months of the year, which is the first year we would owe $17,000 in 2025, $17,710, and then the balance into next year, which would be $53,000 per year going forward, with a buyout of about $250 or so at the end of the lease.
So a balloon payment of $250,000?
If we so choose to keep it.
If you keep it.
And that's at the end of what year? Now, how come that changed so much? A balloon payment?
Because we're not paying
A high
$100,000.
for the lease payment?
Correct.
So they do a balloon payment at the end? Okay.
Correct.
And then of that, you could refi or finance the balance
John Deere would refinance the balance
of
on
the
that.
250.
Yes.
In what year?
2030.
And so then we're basically renting. If we choose to keep it, then we would finance the balance, or we're leasing for $52,000 a year, but not getting equity. Could you, I don't
we are-
want to take your time.
We are getting equity.
We would be getting
Sure.
equity.
I mean, if we,
Not if you give it back at year 5.
no.
So you're just kicking the burden down the road for the balance of the 250 in a balloon payment, or stretching it out.
Because of the debt schedule that we know, but that
yep.
time it's a little bit better for us and a little bit easier for us to swallow.
Well, it makes sense. I know, is that me? It makes sense to do it that way. I want to be able to do what we need to do. I know how badly we need this. I get it.
Well, and like I say, I come here, I show up Tuesdays, then Tuesday nights the following, and something gets gaslit, like the terminologies come up. Everything's kicked to the curb again, and here we are in the situation again. I don't have the answers. I mean, I don't have a magic wand, but we still have to maintain the city. We still have to do our work. I mean, the city's caving in around us, and it's going to continue to do it every year.
Jim, do you have in your budget, you would have the $17,710, do you have that left in your 2025 budget? That would be the down payment?
Yes.
So you got that in your budget. Now, how about in 2026 and through 2030? Could you carve out the total of the 53,000 annually?
I might be able to, that depends what I've got for leases, I've had this grader in my capital equipment for, it was part of, I believe, 25 or 26, it was scheduled for that already, because I knew I would.
Would that reduce, though, how you're saying we're paying X for transmissions and maintenance and repair? Would that do a reduction on that line? And then could you somehow figure out how to carve out the total that you would need?
We can, but I can't foresee the future. We've got a lot of old stuff, and we're doing a lot more with a lot less, and the cost of everything, like you've seen, even our warranted stuff is coming back to us because the manufacturer, they can't repair the stuff. So they're expecting my department to troubleshoot the electrical problems and such that the engineers have designed for these new vehicles. So my guys are spending more time on things like that. And it's failing, the whole system's failing from that part.
So I guess I'd like, if we could move this, I don't know if there's a motion that needs to be made to move it forward, but I feel like, could we get as much of the information, maybe like even in a separate email?
We
can just review that before the council meeting. I know, Pam, you've got it all here, but maybe explain what a balloon payment is, like what total of payments is.
So it would be 17,000 it's basically for 6 months of the year is when you're making the payments. So starting November 1st of this year, November, December, January, February, March, and April. So 4 months of next year would be the $88.55 per month. And then starting back up in November of '26. So you're paying $53,000 a year for the 5 years, which totals
Got it.
the $250,000 at the end of 2030. So it'd be about $230,000 remaining balance.
They really got creative here.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is not Huntington, this is
This is John Deere.
This is direct John Deere. So they were really trying to help us. And then that interest rate, it's at 4.5, but then they say they would go down to 4.25? Or is because this is
Not on this.
Not on this program, okay. But this is a way to get us into where we could, what we can afford to spend.
Correct.
Just alleviate
And
my,
there
I don't know
would
if I'm asking the right questions here or not that you guys want to answer.
Because
but-
in '26, the 2 other lease payments would be coming off.
And what are the total of those lease payments? And I know, Pam, you've given us this like
88.
probably 5 times.
About, 88 or so.
1,000.
Maybe a little less.
88,000?
Correct.
So that you would cover, you wouldn't even have to carve out anything in the budget. Is that right? All that we would need is the 17.7 out of your 2025 budget, which you say you have. And then in
And
2020,
about 32 or 40-ish, whatever.
in 2026, and then in
Going on.
2027, the total drops off, so we could handle that. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you for all of that information.
And with that, I would like to make a motion to move this discussion and this proposal forward to the next city council meeting so that we can move forward with this.
Support.
Moved by Counselor Freely and supported by Counselor Paulson to move this greater issue to the council meeting for additional discussion, information, and potential action. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim. Item number 7B was at the Buildings and Grounds meeting, we had discussion about City Hall office staff and locations after the Public Safety Center relocation. And I think at this moment, it's just informational staff still looking at the square footage, what we would need and how it would work. So I will come back to the council with a plan for that, because it kind of ties with personnel too. So we'll come back with a plan moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Then item number 11 is discuss the contract for animal control services with Masabi Humane Society.
Yeah, let's take a break before we go to closed session. It's been a long day. Pardon? Well, we haven't moved to close. We're just taking a recess right now, but if you want to move to close, move to close and then take the recess.
I will move to close.
Okay, Councilor Paulson moves to close, is supported by Councilor Beyondich. Further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. We're now in closed session. Let's take a quick break before we start discussing these items 11, 12, and 13. Thank you.